From athletic stuff like a full court pickup game, swish, to athletic-ish stuff like a half-mile stroll. Get those steps in. Head to Sierra or Sierra.com for the brands you want at the prices that let you do it all. From athletic to athletic-ish, Sierra's got it.
This is Optimal Health Daily. Why Eating Curry is Good for Your Brain by Dr. Jenny Brockis of drjennybrockis.com. And I'm your host and narrator, Dr. Neil Malik. Hey there, happy Wednesday and welcome back to Optimal Health Daily, where I read to you from popular health and fitness blogs to help you optimize your health. Now today is Wednesday, and like I do every Wednesday, I like to share a little bit of inspiration with you. So with that, here we go. Quote, "If you want to live a happy life, tie it to a goal, not to people or things." Albert Einstein. All right, and with that, let's get to today's post and start optimizing your life. Why Eating Curry is Good for Your Brain by Dr. Jenny Brockis of drjennybrockis.com. During a chat with a group of friends last week, we got onto the topic of supplements and which herbs and spices might be beneficial in promoting brain health. One individual advised me that every morning they pour a good dollop of flaxseed oil onto their breakfast cereal, along with some LSA and psyllium, plus a heaping teaspoon of turmeric. I remained to be convinced about the taste, although she reassured me she didn't mind it. So what's the deal with turmeric, and why would they be adding it to their breakfast cereal? Turmeric, or Curcuma longa, is an Indian spice and a member of the ginger family. It has a wonderful yellow hue that gives its color to curry, mustard, and piccalilli relish. It was noted some years ago that the incidence of Alzheimer's disease in India is about 1/10 of Western societies. One study in rural North India reported an incidence of 0.62% in those over the age of 55 years and 1.07% in those aged 65 and older. Compare that to 10% for 65-year-olds in our society. There have been a number of reasons postulated as to why this should be, but one of the thoughts is that it's due to the curcumin found in turmeric, and in India, a huge amount of turmeric is consumed in curries on a daily basis. The curcuminoids in turmeric have been associated with a number of significant health benefits, and lots of studies have been completed looking at how it may afford protection against neurodegenerative disease. Let's have a look at some of the research. In Alzheimer's disease, one of the hallmark findings are of plaques in the brain made of a substance called beta amyloid. The body has its own defense system to try and get rid of this in the form of scavenging cells called macrophages. These travel around the brain trying to remove any amyloid it finds. One study looked at the effect of treating these macrophages with curcumin and found that the macrophages were then better able to gobble up the beta amyloid with an improvement rate of 50%. Curcumin has potent anti-inflammatory and antioxidant effects. It is thought that inflammation plays a role in the development of Alzheimer's. This led to studies to see whether anti-inflammatory drugs and/or curcumin, through its anti-inflammatory effect, could be useful in treating beta amyloid buildup. One study conducted at UCLA looked at the anti-inflammatory effect of curcumin versus ibuprofen, a commonly used anti-inflammatory drug. Using rats with beta amyloid in their brains, both curcumin and the ibuprofen were shown to provide equivalent protection from the inflammatory damage caused by the beta amyloid. The curcumin reduced the number of plaques in the rat brains by up to 80% at low dose, and the rats given the curcumin performed better on spatial memory tests compared to the control group. Curcumin can cross the blood-brain barrier and binds to amyloid protein fragments, which can then no longer clump together to form plaques. However, follow-up clinical trials in patients with Alzheimer's disease who were prescribed anti-inflammatory drugs such as ibuprofen unfortunately only produced limited or negative results. Likewise, the ADAPT cognitive function tests using naproxen similarly showed no benefit in improving cognitive function in older adults. There remains the possibility that non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs could be useful if taken in the years prior to any cognitive decline, but this has yet to be shown. Curcumin and vitamin D. Moving back to curcumin and its possible role with vitamin D, in 2009, UCLA researchers discovered that vitamin D, together with curcumin, might help to stimulate the immune system to clear the brain of amyloid beta. A small study was undertaken with 9 patients with Alzheimer's disease, 3 healthy controls, and 1 subject with mild cognitive impairment. Blood samples were collected, and a type of white cell called monocytes, which can transform into macrophages, were isolated and then incubated with amyloid beta, vitamin D3, and either natural or synthetic curcumin. The synthetic curcumin was found to be less readily absorbed and less potent than naturally occurring curcumin. The researchers found that the curcuminoids enhanced the surface binding of amyloid beta to macrophages, and that vitamin D also strongly stimulated the uptake and absorption of amyloid beta by the macrophages in the majority of patients. A previous study by the same team had demonstrated that MGAT111 and TLR3 genes are the genes associated with the immune system's ability to ingest amyloid beta. Dr. Milan Fiala found that there were 2 types of Alzheimer's patients, type 1 who did respond positively to curcuminoids and type 2 who did not. He noted that as the curcumin and vitamin D work differently in the immune system, it might be that either a combination of the 2 or each used alone might be more effective depending on the individual. He suggests larger and more studies using vitamin D and curcumin are necessary to see if this would be the case. How does curcumin exert its effect? Dr. A. Ramamurthy at the University of Michigan has shown that the curcumin inserts itself into cell membranes, changing the physical properties of the membrane rather than interacting directly with the membrane proteins. He is now trying to determine the relative potency of a variety of curcuminoid derivatives, which could potentially lead to new compounds being formulated as treatments. He's also investigating the effects on how curcumin exerts its effects on the formulation of amyloid. So, if eating curry with turmeric may assist in keeping our minds sharp as we age, how much should we be eating? According to Dr. Sally Frautsky, associate professor at UCLA who eats curry 4 times a week, aim for 1 tablespoon or about 200 milligrams per day. But I think I still prefer to eat my turmeric and curry rather than on my breakfast cereal. You just listened to the post titled, Why Eating Curry is Good for Your Brain by Dr. Jenny Brockis of drjennybrockis.com, and I'll be right back with my commentary. Right now, there's a talented person out there who could take your company to the next level. Do you want to hope they see your job post before your competitors? Or do you want to match with them with Indeed sponsored jobs? Stop struggling to get your job post even seen on other sites. Give your job the best chance to be seen with Indeed sponsored jobs. When I was looking to hire, it was so slow and overwhelming. I wish I had used Indeed. Spend more time interviewing candidates who check all your boxes. Less stress, less time, more results now with Indeed sponsored jobs. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to help get your job the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/health. Just go to Indeed.com/health right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/health. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Do it the right way with Indeed. On longer flights, my legs usually aren't feeling too great. I'm sure you know the feeling. They can feel heavy, achy, and completely stiff. Compression socks I've tried in the past were basically plastic bags and super sweaty. But Hollow socks are much more comfortable. Their performance compression socks are made from ultra-soft baby alpaca fiber. The graduated compression is snug at the ankle and gently tapers up your leg, so everything just feels supported without that suffocating squeeze. They're 3 times more breathable, so no more swamp feet on long flights or 12-hour shifts. You can actually keep them on all day. Plus, they're made in the USA with over 2 million pairs sold. For a limited time, Hollow Socks is having a buy 2, get 2 free sale. Head to hollowsocks.com today to check it out. That's hollowsocks.com for up to 50% off your order. After you purchase, they'll ask you where you heard about them, and you can support our show and tell them we sent you. Dr. Neal here for my commentary. Today's author, Dr. Brockis, is absolutely correct in that there are a lot of studies that show consuming turmeric regularly helps to prevent a lot of diseases. One of those diseases may be Alzheimer's. And remember, Alzheimer's is like a severe form of dementia. And as Dr. Brockis explained, it turns out Alzheimer's disease might be related to long-term systemic inflammation. So if eating turmeric helps prevent inflammation, we can see how there might be that connection between turmeric and prevention of Alzheimer's disease. Now, the thing to keep in mind with turmeric is it's not very easily absorbed by the body. In today's article, we heard the story of a friend adding turmeric to their breakfast cereal. Eating turmeric with other foods is beneficial. It's because what happens is these other foods help the body absorb turmeric more efficiently. In fact, it's recommended to add turmeric to dishes that also have some black pepper, some dairy, and some fat in them. That's because each of these, black pepper, dairy, and fat, help the body absorb turmeric that much better. And as always, there's no need to go overboard with your turmeric consumption. Kind of like omega-3s, it can be a blood thinner. And if someone has kidney or liver problems or is on certain medications, they don't want to take turmeric because it could interfere with their medications. So definitely double check with your healthcare provider before you start to consume 200 milligrams of turmeric each day. All right, that'll do it for another edition of Optimal Health Daily. Thank you so much for listening. And of course, I'll be back here tomorrow as usual. So I'll see you there where your optimal life awaits.